Hello everyone, I am Alexa Donne and today I am giving you some Publishing Secrets Marketing 101. The big secret, I'm going to give it to you right up front, is that just because you get a book deal with a publisher, even a big publisher, does not mean you are guaranteed to be given marketing support. I think that this surprises a lot of people because we assume that that's just part of getting a book deal. And I'm not saying it's okay or it's right, because that used to be the case, that you did get a book deal with a publisher, and of course it was a part of their job to market your book. But things have just changed a lot. Budgets are leaner, ROI is a lot tighter, and also publishing is just really saturated. I know it seems really hard to get a publishing deal, and it is. But it's actually more saturated than it used to be in the past, at least certainly YA. There are more YA books coming out than ever, and a publishing team, a marketing team, and a publicity team, there's only so many people and so much work they can do on so many books. I think it's good as authors to know this going into the game and knowing it ahead of time so that you can plan a long-term marketing strategy or at least have realistic expectations. Not everyone is cut out to do their own marketing, and I am by no means suggesting that you, the author, are responsible for doing everything. So if you're feeling a lot of anxiety about the whole area of author platform and marketing, take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. That said, I am going to give my advice and what I think authors can do and should do, and how marketing realistically works in the modern age, 2017, 2018, if you're going to be an author and be published. I'd like to offer the disclaimer, as always, that my experience is in traditional publishing, though a lot of what I have to say could definitely apply to self-publishing. But if you are interested in self-publishing or you are a self-publisher, you're going to have to do all of the marketing yourself. There's a lot more work involved, and there's no option about it. But I am targeting this towards traditionally published authors, and marketing is optional, but it is recommended, highly recommended for me. Now I want to talk a little bit about why everyone who gets a book deal isn't going to get robust marketing support, but also what marketing from your publisher means. There are only so many lead titles each season that a publisher can have, and a lead title is exactly what it sounds like. It is the title coming out in that season that a publisher is going to push and give most of its support. It's the one that they're telling everyone about. So the marketing and publicity teams are going to focus most of their bandwidth, energy, and most importantly, marketing budget on lead titles. Typically, lead titles do receive larger advances, and they're often the ones that you hear about in big, splashy announcements. If you hear a major deal, it's statistically likely that that is going to be a lead title. However, the size of your advance does not always dictate whether you are A, a lead title, or B, get robust marketing support. So that means if you get a smaller advance, you might still get a lot of support in-house. On the flip side, if you get a massive advance, unfortunately sometimes your publisher will leave you high and dry. It's incredibly unlikely, but it's called buying and burying, where a publisher buys a book for a lot of money and then basically buries it. This means that no matter what the size of your advance, you should set aside a small chunk of it for your own marketing. There's a lot of options for what that marketing might mean, but at the least, save a bit of money. It's recommended to save 10 to 15% of your advance for marketing. It doesn't mean you're going to spend it all, but you've got it as a rainy day fund just in case. You're going to know whether or not you're going to be getting a lot of marketing support from your publisher, and specifically whether you are a lead title, about 9 months to a year before your book comes out. That's when you should be hearing from your publisher, possibly through your agent, what your publisher's marketing plan is. You're not going to be introduced to the marketing and publicity departments, and specifically your publicist, until a little bit closer to your release. I've heard that it's about 6 months out, but of course I haven't gone through this myself yet, so I'm going off of what friends have told me. But you'll have a general sense a bit earlier than that. And honestly, if you are a lead title, you're going to know that a year out. A year out is approximately when your editor is going to launch your book with sales and marketing, and they're going to really start coming up with their long-term marketing and publicity plans for you. Included in that is your cover, who the book's going to be sent to, the blurbs that they're going to get, and possibly, print media, and other ad campaigns, big publicity pushes. There are so many different things that publishers are going to do for a book. Which brings me to a very important point. Not all marketing and publicity is going to be visible to you, the author. When a publisher buys your book, of course they're going to do something for your book. I don't want to fuel the idea that traditional publishing is useless and we should just self-publish our books. No, there is so much that a traditional publisher is going to be able to do for you that you simply cannot do on your own. A huge part of that is sales and distribution, getting your book where it needs to be in bookstores and in libraries, etc. But also there's a lot of behind the scenes buzz and publicity work that your publisher is going to do for you no matter what. This includes printing advanced reader copies of your book and putting it up on sites like NetGalley and Edelweiss, distributing it to bookstore sales representatives across the country to get them to stock your book. Your publisher is going to do that work for you no matter what. It's the above and beyond gravy type marketing and publicity, including and especially social media. If you're with a larger publisher that has a lot more books on their lists with just one small publicity team who can only do so much, you might not be the book that gets pushed a lot on social media or in ad campaigns, etc. I'd also like to caution that not every book warrants a massive, splashy marketing campaign. Some books are niche books or they're quieter books, and the publicity and marketing team are doing their jobs and what they are experts in doing, making sure that they're getting your book and getting buzz for your book in the right circles. So just because you can't see marketing doesn't mean that nothing is happening. However, it can happen that you have a big commercial book and you know that your publisher isn't really marketing you largely. You know that you're not the big darling for the season. So what do you do in that case? One big area where you might notice that you're not getting the same support as other authors is events. A lot of authors think that, oh, I have a book deal with a publisher, they're going to send me to all these fabulous events, including and especially a book tour. And that just doesn't happen for most authors. And here's the thing. Having a book tour and going to conventions or conferences is not going to make or break your book. You're going to be okay if you're not sent on a book tour. But I know that it can be really panic-inducing to realize, gosh, if I want to do these things, I'm going to have to fund it myself. And so that is why you set aside that 10 to 15% of your advance, so that if it turns out that your publisher isn't going to be funding to send you to events, which I'd like to point out they don't do for 90 to 95% of their authors. So if you're in that boat, you are 100% not alone. And when you go to events, I'm telling you, in a lot of cases, those authors have paid for their own travel expenses. So buy their books as a courtesy. Or, just because you want to read books. But, so whether you have a big splashy commercial book or a more niche, quiet book, and you feel like your publisher isn't giving you massive marketing support, what can you do? I have a lot of suggestions. First off, my bare bones recommendation for all authors, if their publisher isn't going to do this for them, is to print bookmarks. It is a very low cost tactic. I'm going to go into some marketing lingo. A tactic is, something that you execute as part of a marketing plan. And bookmarks are collateral. So bookmarks is a very effective, low-cost tactic that is easy to execute. You just need to find a designer to design your bookmarks, and there are some go-tos in the industry, including some who are authors who also are graphic designers. And then you can just use a POD, which is print on demand company, to print a run of a couple hundred bookmarks. They're not that expensive. So for, $200 or $300, probably less. I've seen sales where you can get a really nice set of bookmarks for $100. You will have something to bring with you to events, something to hand to people to promote your book. A bookmark is slightly better than a business card because it's a great leave behind for readers, of course. And, readers and YA readers especially still read physical books. And so we all need bookmarks. I have definitely, gotten a bookmark from an author and then, I need a bookmark for my book. And I pick it up, I go, that book. And it kind of reminds me every time I go to open my book of that author and of that book. Plus, there are some very cool things that you can do with bookmarks. You can do like different finishes. I've seen like gold foil on bookmarks, which is really cool. But even just a nice, clean design that showcases your cover, says who you are, and when your book comes out, it's just an incredibly effective marketing tool. Above and beyond that, I don't really recommend that the average author like come up with some massive marketing plan and, spend thousands of dollars to attend a ton of events. It's really specific to your book, the market, your personality, and of course your budget. But bare minimum, bookmarks. Another thing that I've heard from some author friends is if your publisher doesn't choose to print samplers for you, that you can do chapter samplers. And I honestly hadn't even thought of that until a friend suggested it, and it's a really good idea. Again, if you're planning on doing events or, mingling with potential readers, printing your own samplers can be a really effective marketing tool. There's a reason, the marketing teams of big publishers print chapter samplers, and I've picked them up and I've read them. I wouldn't recommend this for everyone. I don't want to say that you should run out and spend a couple $100 on them, but if you know that you're going to be doing a lot of events and you want sticky leave-behinds, bookmarks, chapter samplers, really good ideas. Beyond that, I really just recommend that you have a social media strategy and that you put time into your social media, as well as having a good author website. I covered those things in the Author Platform Basics video and also in my How to Build an Author Website video. There's lots of detail in there, but generally I'm going to repeat that here. That those are free or low-cost things. Of course, they do require your own bandwidth. You do have to put the time into these things, but they're things that you can do so that you have a presence on the internet so that when people look you up, they can find you, learn a bit about you, and about your books. Another great thing that you can do as the author is ARC giveaways. Your publisher is going to send you between 15 to 20 ARCs, which is not that many ARCs, and so you're going to have to be careful in terms of what you do with them. But they're going to send those free copies to you. So I would, give maybe 1 or 2 to your family, but the rest of them, they need to go buy your book. You tell them that. You are not made of free ARCs, because you want to save the rest of them to build buzz for your book. I would set aside at least half of them for giveaways. And those are giveaways that you would host in a variety of spaces, including Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, your newsletter. You can also buddy up with other authors to do themed giveaway packs. For example, for me, I plan on getting together with some of the other YA debuts who are coming out on May Day, May 1st, which is my release date, and doing a May Day giveaway package. I'm probably going to be the very eager Ravenclaw who is kind of pulling all that together. I've also been talking to some other authors who write space YA that's coming out in 2018 about doing something there. I'm also planning on doing kind of grand prize giveaway packs with some really cute Jane Eyre and space themed like jewelry and tea and bookmarks and prints. There are all sorts of really cool things that you can do. Get creative in terms of what your book is about. I just find things on Etsy. And then, of course, I have to spend a bit of money to get these things. And again, that is where your small marketing budget set aside from your advance comes from. And also part of that is going to go towards mailing these things. On a similar vein, you can do a pre-order giveaway. That said, I've heard mixed things about these and how much time and money you should invest in them, but I do think it's worth at least trying a small giveaway. You should start about 3 months before your book comes out, and you want to give away something that is flat and easy to mail so that you don't get into bulky packages and really expensive mailings. I'm actually going to link down below to a fabulous post by Erin Bowman who went over the various different kinds of pre-order campaigns that you can do. I found it an incredibly illuminating read, and I plan on using that to guide me through what I'm going to do. I'm definitely going to do some kind of pre-order giveaway, but I'm still kind of figuring out exactly what I want to do and how much I want to spend versus ROI, and that is return on investment. Generally speaking, I don't think that authors should spend massive amounts of their own money on marketing, but there are little things that you can do to kind of bolster yourself and give yourself a better shot and augment whatever your publisher is doing. I'm also going to link you to a post that Susan Denner did on this topic. Susan went above and beyond and did an insane amount of marketing for Truthwitch, and she's incredibly honest and upfront about how much money she spent on it, what the results were, and also why. She had a specific reason and incentive for spending a lot of money on her own marketing. And she's really honest that she's kind of an outlier and that not everyone should do this. So I think it's really interesting and instructive to kind of look at that extreme. Someone who spent, I think it was like between $10,000 and $15,000 on their own marketing versus I think the average author with a traditional publishing deal should expect to spend between, on the low end, maybe $300, but kind of on the higher cushion, like $2,000 to $2,500, and that's assuming maybe you travel to go to 1 or 2 events. Events are a whole other beast, by the way. There's all sorts of, unspoken rules about, how to get into certain events and how paying for yourself works and when you should ask for comps. So I'm probably going to do a separate video on that because I do have a lot of experience in that arena because I have worked on the convention organizing side. So I have a lot of insights there. Just as with advances, the size of your publisher and also the imprint can make a difference when it comes to whether or not you're going to receive robust marketing support. And actually, it's a bit counterintuitive. Sometimes if you are at a smaller publisher or a smaller imprint, you are more likely to get marketing support because you're part of a smaller list, a more selective list. And the marketing and publicity teams will simply have more bandwidth to give support to all of the titles. Conversely, if you're with a mega publisher, the odds are just a little bit less in your favor. If you end up with an imprint that publishes 100 titles a year, they're just not going to be giving robust marketing support to all 100. They might focus on, 20 of those titles and, still of course do work on the other 80, but not an extra push with a large budget. So don't think that, going with the biggest possible publisher for the biggest possible advance is the way to guarantee yourself a lot of marketing. Sometimes those things are true, but correlation is not causation. So always have this conversation with your agent when you're, when they're doing their sub list and when you have offers on the table and you're considering different publishers. Sometimes it might be the right choice to go with the smaller publisher or the smaller imprint that maybe isn't offering you as much money because maybe they can guarantee you lead title status. There are so many variables that go into it, but the most important thing to know is that nothing is guaranteed. But there are things that you can do, and that's why I'm here to, kind of tell you the truth, set your mind at ease, and then give you the tools that you need to feel prepared. So there you have it. The secret in publishing that just because you get a book deal doesn't mean your publisher is going to do a ton of marketing for you. But they are going to do something. You have a book deal, things are happening, and you can do things that will help kind of bolster your publisher's effort and, give you a fair shot. As I mentioned, there are above and beyond options for you. And, if you're interested in seeing kind of like the mega insane things you can do type plan, let me know down in the comments. I'm happy to go full Alexa on you and just like run you through like a 360 marketing plan. But I worry about freaking people out because so many of us, we're not marketers. We're writers, we're creative types. A lot of us are sensitive souls. It just so happens that marketing is my day job. I've been doing this for the last 6 years, so I've picked up a lot of skills, and these things just don't daunt me in the way that they do other people. I have friends who just find marketing so incredibly overwhelming, and I kind of give them tips and nudges, but if it's just not for you, you don't have to do it. That's the thing I'm telling you. You can be reassured. But I do think you should do the bare minimum, which I've covered here. So if you have any questions, especially about any of the words I rattled off, like I went into some marketing lingo there, also vendors that I recommend, just hit me up with questions down below. Also suggestions for future videos. There's so much to cover. Marketing is so expansive, and I want to know what you guys are curious about and what you want to hear about. If you liked this, subscribe to my channel. So much more like this coming. I am an information torrent, and I'm aiming it towards my camera and just, editing and filming videos as fast as I can to get, this content up on the channel, because I think this information is interesting. And I think that the more information we are equipped with as writers, the more, even footing we'll be on in the industry. There'll be fewer surprises and you'll be able to handle everything. So happy writing, everyone, or in this case, happy marketing.